of the shuttle. The weaver, by turning the handle, can wind the dyed thread into the container and then insert it into the shuttle. The tool with the wooden gears at its two ends is called a poker. It's thick in the middle. The gears are in fact combs for poking and directing the weft, which allow the weaver to stop the weft and change colors when necessary. The weaver passes the shuttles backwards and forwards to produce the patterns indicated by the warp. At the same time, he uses the poker to arrange the weft closely. He can control the opening and closing of the warp by stepping on the bamboo lever, at the same time as passing the shuttles with his hands. He also smooths the threads with his other hand to ensure the fabric's quality. From time to time, the weaver inserts a mirror under the threads to examine the other side. He does this because Kuso fabrics face downward during the weaving process. In this way, he sees if the colors are right and decides if he needs to change the shuttles or his weaving technique. Thus, using the simplest of tools, the most magnificent and complex Kuso fabrics are produced. Kuso weaving is essentially manual work. A single piece of fabric can take so much work to produce that people wonder why anyone bothers to make it. On this piece of fabric, the face has a gentle color. The cheeks are a light pink and the lips are a bright red. The coloring is quite distinctive. Human figures are particularly difficult to portray on silk fabric. The main problem is the complexity of the facial expressions, especially the minor details around the eyes and lips. Besides, the cheeks must be of identical colors. The faces may be no bigger than the palm of a hand, yet in this small area, the precise coloring and variation of the human skin's pigments must be portrayed. This is where Kuso weaving excels. One of the most appealing aspects of the robes is the way the edges and belts fall naturally. The color is blue, yet there's still a rich spectrum of varying degrees of brightness, achieved through an apparently natural transition. Two main techniques are employed in producing this transition: color mingling. Color mingling is a commonly used technique in Kuso weaving. Threads of two or more colors are mixed by overlapping them to varying lengths. A slight change in the length and color mix can produce a subtle change of shade. The blossoming peony was produced by using this method. The color grows gradually darker, from the pistil to the petals. The effect is very vivid. However, it presented an enormous challenge during the weaving process, because sometimes more than 10 shuttles were needed for an area only a few square millimeters in size. However, color mingling alone cannot produce the rich shading. Another special technique also has to be used: thread splitting. As the name indicates, the weavers split the threads and combine them with threads of other colors so that a single thread, in fact, has two colors. The combined threads are capable of conveying extremely subtle transitions in color. However, splitting the hair-thin threads is extremely difficult. Thread splitting allows Kuso weaving to overcome the restrictions on the use of color. Any number of different subjects can be portrayed, from human figures to landscapes, flowers, grass, birds and fish, and even calligraphy. Every detail can be depicted, regardless of the size of the medium, from a small bag to screens and even tapestries. In Japan, young people celebrating their entry into adulthood like to dress in elegant kimonos. Kimono designs are reminiscent of the rich dress style of the Tang Dynasty in China. The wealthiest Japanese can afford to have the belts of their kimonos made from Kuso fabric. But since Japan has not mastered the technique of Kuso weaving, the belts all come from Suzhou. On May 20th, 2006, Kuso weaving was listed as part of the nation's intangible cultural heritage.
保护我们共同的文化，需要每一个人的参与、支持和鼓励。我们更期待有更多的有识之士能够参与我们保护文化的行动，让我们共同携手、同心，来建造我们 保护华夏文化的万里长城。
Suzhou has been nurturing talented craftsmen for many centuries. They in turn have made a major contribution to China's silkworking and to Kuso weaving in particular. There's a private Kuso museum in Suzhou, the only one of its kind in the world. It houses many old looms. They are testimony to the fact that Chinese people have not only made some of the finest silk fabrics in the world, but also constantly introduced innovations in the production process. Through their elegant Kuso fabrics, Suzhou's craftsmen are telling the world that Kuso weaving is still full of vitality. The colorful threads run through many generations of Chinese civilization, and the skills of weaving them will continue to be handed down for many more generations to come.